He's a leader. He's a guy who comes in and plays so hard every day. And just knowing he's out there, especially when you play a guy like Giannis, you need somebody who's going to never back down from a challenge, and he never backs down from a challenge. He's there. He screams, he flexes, and he just gives you that energy. And a lot of times when you have stars, like they kind of focus on themselves, but I feel like he's so focused on the team and getting everybody at the right spot, or kind of giving you a little bit, like in the first quarter, he was like, just shoot the ball. Like, you're a great shooter, shoot the ball. And then I make a three, and he was super happy. So that kind of gave me a little bit of boost as well. So great guy, and I'm happy nothing wrong with him.
I'm gonna kill him. Anyone that was involved, anybody who profited from it, anybody who opens their eyes at me.
What's good, y'all? So here's the thing. I will not jinx it. And as it pertains to statistics in the NBA early in the season, there's a lot of noise, right? A lot of things can change from here until the end of the season. There's a ton of things that can go wrong. You've played a very small sample of teams. Scottie is on a tear over the last 4 games. I'm going to take you into that. And my belief that he has turned a corner. Now, again, this is odd season Scottie. He took a jump in year 1 from Florida State, took a jump in year 3 after that abysmal year 2. And a lot of people were like, is this just a trend with Scottie where it kind of takes him 24 months to figure something out and then he implements a new part of his game? A lot of people have made, mention of the fact that Scottie is just like the ultimate role player. And I really don't think that that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think he's doing a lot of things that are nothing like role player stuff. I think he's doing a lot of star stuff. I've watched a ton of NBA basketball in my life, from Rasheed Wallace to Tim Duncan to, Kevin Garnett. Stars are not always obvious, but, one of the things that I like to look at is impact metrics. Because when it pertains to statistics, points per game can be misleading. Even points per 100 possessions can be a little misleading. Points per, 36 minutes can be misleading. Rebounds per game can be misleading. There are a ton of not so great defenders that have racked up a ton of blocks and a ton of steals. What does show up though is in the net rating, in the plus minus data of those players, right? Jason Kidd was a phenomenal offensive player, but you wouldn't know it from just looking at the box score. When you saw Jason Kidd had 13 points and 12 assists and 8 rebounds, you're like, wait, they're paying this guy to be a star? This is the best point guard in the league? What are we talking about? We got Allen Iverson over here putting up 35 points. And it's just misleading because it doesn't really matter how many points you have. It doesn't matter how many rebounds you have. It matters how the team performs when you're on the court. And when that consistently tends to be the trend, that a singular force on the court consistently results in better defense when they're on the court, that's when we start to pay attention. It's not the steals, it's not the blocks. We can gamble for steals and blocks. What happens when you jump for a lot of blocks is you're going to get a lot of blocks. What happens when you gamble for a lot of steals? You're going to get a lot of steals, right? But what happens to the defense when you gamble for a lot of steals, especially when you're not very good at gambling? Shout out to Michael Jordan, who was amazing at gambling. But when you're not so great at gambling, what you do is you leave a lot of leaky holes on defense. And a lot of things just don't show up in the box score, right? It's perfectly possible for a player to run a fast break, right? To do everything right on that fast break, to make the perfect pass, which leads to a pass that results in the cleanest 3 points that you get all night. And the player who made the initial pass, who did 80% of the damage on that play, will not get a single point or a single assist for that play. Box scores are for casuals. And I want to take a look at some of Scottie's advanced stats, obviously, in this. And I want to take a look at what he did against the Milwaukee Bucks. Specifically, I'll hone in on the third quarter, and we'll look at his possessions, and we'll see some of the understated stuff that Scottie does off the ball that really, really helps. And again, I don't want you to misconstrue off the ball as role player stuff. Stars do tons of stuff off the ball. If you watched Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, any high IQ star does tons of things off the ball and away from the play. It's typically those empty calorie scorers who are usually just catching their breath in the corner. And those are those are the types of players you need to be wary of, in my opinion. But anyways, let's get into this. I'll make myself a little bit small. This is not going to be a super, super long live. I appreciate y'all for checking us out very, very late. This is what Scottie is doing over his last 4 games. Again, I promise you, I'm not jinxing it. Whatever, small sample size. He's probably not going to shoot 46% from 3. It would be possibly the greatest single season progression in terms of 3-point shooting you've ever seen, because this is I mean, from 27% last year to 46% this year would be, let's just be honest, that would be like a 20% jump. And we're not expecting that. But what we are hopefully expecting from Scottie is sustained north of 35% 3-point shooting would be mega. Okay. Again, over the last 4 games, if you're just looking at the box score, 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists does not scream max player. What does, however, scream super max player is that 9.2 box plus minus. It is impossible to ignore Scottie's role in this defense and how he has been so impactful offensively and defensively, like a two-way star, right? When you are a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, people tend to ignore all the things you do super well, but not elite, right? Like if you're just a really like, I mean, you got to look at this, right? We're talking 4.3 stocks per game from a guy who's shooting 46% from three. There's no player in the NBA who's done that this season on a 4-game stretch. I'd bet anything on it, right? At this volume, with this role, with these responsibilities defensively, these are truly mind-boggling numbers, if we're being honest. Consider how the team is doing. Now, the Raptors have 3 players who are averaging north of 20, but did you know that all 3 players are actually averaging north of 30 per 100 possessions? They're not playing a ton of minutes. Scottie's not playing a ton of minutes. RJ and BI are not playing a ton of minutes. Scottie Barnes is averaging 30.5 points per 100 possessions. Brandon Ingram is averaging the identical amount per 100 possessions. And RJ Barrett is averaging 30.3. If we go back to preseason, the prediction was Ingram averages 25, RJ averages 18, Scottie averages 16. That was the prediction. This has been very off. And I told y'all before the season started, don't take this. I mean, you can go and refresh all my takes. I told y'all all the stuff that has been made out about the Toronto media. Oh, Scottie's embracing an off-ball role. He's going to do more off-ball stuff. Yeah, okay, cool. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to get mid-post possessions to isolate. That doesn't mean he's not going to take threes. That doesn't mean he's not going to initiate offense. Doesn't mean he's not going to bring the ball. People are like, he's going to friggin' be Draymond Green this year. He don't look like Draymond Green to me. And I think the numbers are proving it right now. And I got news for you. He ain't even gotten started yet. This is not the best of Scottie. Now, yesterday during the live, I said this might have been the best Scottie Barnes game of the season. I think this was amazing. And I generously predicted that he had I think I said 10 box plus minus. I'm like, that was at least a 10 box plus minus game. Oh, Lord, did I know. Giannis had a 10 box plus minus game last night. It was like 9.8, 9.9, which is low by his standards because he's currently like 13 box plus minus. So Giannis had a below average game. But I'll tell you one player who had an above average game, and that was Scottie Barnes with his 20.3 box plus minus yesterday. He was the most impactful player in the game per that stat. And, RJ, shout outs to him. Jamal Shed, we have to do a video on Jamal Shed at some point this week because he has been an absolute revelation. He's been the best point guard on this team, and that was the subject of, one of the callers yesterday, talking about Jamal Shed and he's amazing and all that stuff. Yeah, Jamal has been amazing and he has taken a jump and he is one of the hardest workers and you drafted him 45th last year. And it's really nice to see him. And it was nice to see Jacoby finally, have a relatively positive game. Like, Jacoby has been -8, -7, -8, -7. He finally had a positive game. Really great to see Grady have a positive game. And again, as Emmanuel quickly rounds himself into form, the 3-point shot is going at a higher rate. This can get better. Scottie is an amplifier. Like he is an additive player. He does not take away anything from anybody. Okay. He doesn't take away rebounds. He's not stealing rebounds. He's not assist farming. He creates the cleanest looks on this team, in my opinion. In terms of his passes, they're the best passes on this team. When he is taking open shots, it's usually because that is the best shot on the court, right? He's not typically like launching out of turn. And again, he makes life easier. As much as, we want to talk about how Brandon Ingram has made life easier for RJ and Scottie, please don't ignore that RJ is making life easier for Scottie and BI. And, Scottie is making life easier for RJ and BI as well. So it is just a wonderful synergy between these 3 players right now. And I really hope it continues. But it's really nice to see that Brandon Ingram can play limited minutes, have 13 points, and you can blow out a playoff team, really, that's relatively healthy right now, that has arguably for some people the prohibitive MVP favorite right now. Now here's Scottie's jump on the year, and let me just make myself small so that y'all can see this. Okay, so this is last up, not small enough. So last year versus this year. Okay, we are seeing almost career highs across the board per 100 possessions. Okay, the assists are down a little bit, the rebounds are down a little bit. Yes. Okay, I think the rebound has been troubling, but this is the highest steal rate, highest block rate, lowest turnover rate since his second year where he barely handled the ball and he's handling a lot. He's fouling the most he has in years, but he's also scoring the most. I mean, I think a lot of people thought, hey, Brandon Ingram's going to be here. He's going to score at a lower rate. I think you need to look at that per 100 possessions as a nice barometer for how Scottie is actually progressing because, and I think this is important, this is also the highest 3-point attempt rate that he has had since his, this is the highest 3-point attempt rate, period. 48%. Like that is, sorry, this is the highest 3-point percentage year he's had. In terms of 3-point attempt rate, this is actually the second highest. This is almost as high as when he made an all-star team. And I think that it's important to realize that the quality of 3-point shots that he's getting are better than the quality he got last year. Last year was a lot of dribble with the ball, dribble, early transition, pull-ups from, the logo, deep threes, whatever. They haven't seen a lot of that this year. This is the highest box plus minus so far. Again, I will remind you, Scottie has started hot before. This is not a player who's immune to starting hot. Okay. But based on the preseason he had, a lot of people were ready to sell this guy down the well. And I am here to remind you, I told y'all, be patient. Season starting. He put in a ton of work this summer. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances last season, right? He just had a kid. He just had a kid during training camp last year. He missed a ton of time during training camp. The season was off to a horrific start. There were a ton of injuries. He got injured very early. So knock on wood, some of the injury scares already that we've had, him grabbing his arm, him grabbing his left elbow, him, starting out with tendinopathy in training camp. I think all of those things are little scares, right? But for real, like this guy has not gotten started yet, in my opinion. This is the highest win shares per 48 that he's ever had. He is on pace to have like an eight win share year. And that is absolutely superstar stuff. And I want to show you where, your boy Scottie Barnes ranks among the league. Okay. Because this is important to me too. I sorted every single player in this league by value of a replacement. Why do I care about value of replacement? Well, isn't that what we're trying to measure? How good are you relative to the average player in the league? Now, I want to remind you, not the 250th player in the league, but the average minute played in the league is played by typically a starter, typically by a high rotation player. That is what an average player is defined as. And this is his value over that player cumulatively over the season. He has a 5.1 boxes minus, which is good for top 14 in the league. I said he was a top 15 player, and this stat measures that very well. Now, there's a lot of outlier performances, shooting luck right now. Mikal Bridges, I very much doubt is going to be anywhere close to the top of this. Alperen Sengun has been amazing. There are certain players who have been injured. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum were staples in the top 12 among this stat, top 15. They are not playing this year. That helps, that they're not playing. But, we're seeing Victor Wembanyama. He's taking a big jump in this regard. Obviously, the more minutes you play, that's going to help your value of a replacement. Scottie is not playing anywhere close to the number of minutes that Tyrese Maxey has or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has. He's not playing those level of minutes. There's a full game missing between Scottie and Shai in terms of minutes. And I will tell you, these are the only players who have a higher value of replacement over Scottie Barnes this year. Austin Reeves, Julius Randle, Tyrese Maxey, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's it. That's the whole list. Okay, so we can start our all NBA agenda. Okay, we absolutely can. And there's no role players up here. Let's just be for real here. Julius Randle is a 2-time all NBA guy. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star. Austin Reeves has performed like an all-star this year. Shout outs to Mikey Mike. What's good, Rob? Daniel saying talk your shit to the preseason haters. Absolutely, man. Like, yeah. Therese saying 20 boxes minus is nuts. Well, if you saw Jameson Battles, Cleveland Cavaliers advanced box score, you'd be flabbergasted. Again, like it is context dependent, role dependent. Let's take a look at some of the film breakdown. Okay, because I think I am obsessed with film. Okay, I am obsessed with film. This is what I do. This is what I like to do. And I'll share a little bit of an update, life update towards the end of this, and why I'm doing this live so late, because I had kind of a miserable day. If I'm being honest, it's kind of like a day that just would not start because of something, in the morning. And whatever. I'm happy to be doing this right now for 125 people at night, and hopefully some of you who couldn't stay up with us at almost 1 a.m. Can probably catch us tomorrow on the replay. But here, watch this. Like, this is just, I mean, first of all, shout outs to RJ Barrett, right? Contain this dribble to allow the help to do their job, right? Sapphire Beats saying OKC finally lost. Yikes. Okay, here we go. Scottie Barnes ties him up. And obviously, he's going to win this jump ball, right? So this is big. But RJ Barrett does his job here, so Scottie can do his job. So often, I would say, like, you need to replace OG Anunoby. This has been my biggest take. Uh, John Hamilton, good night, Rob. Good night is typically said as a bye, but I think you're just saying it as good night. So hello and salute to you. Okay. That's just good, man. That's good defense. Tie him up. But again, it doesn't work if RJ doesn't do his job, which is why OG and Scottie were so lethal together. It's why I was so adamant that the Raptors needed to draft someone like Carter Bryant, because I thought he and Scottie would be amazing. And that's also why I think Scottie probably needs a rim protector, someone who can actually contain the paint so that he can do more of this stuff. Because right now, what was RJ Barrett doing? He was pretty much rim protecting, right? He was the low man. He was the last guy back. And you just need delay. That's the whole thing. This is a game of pace. Okay, you are competing to slow the offense down and slow the offense down on one end and speed your offense up on the other end. And Scottie does a great job of doing both. He deters defensively, he slows you down, and offensively he speeds us up. And that is a huge part of why his impact metrics are screaming what they're screaming right now. And the play like that doesn't show up as anything. That's not a steal. That's not a block. That's nothing. But that's defensive impact. Now watch this. Here, hunts the mismatch intelligently. And so many times Scottie Barnes just does these things. He's so rarely offbeat, right? When I say offbeat, like, he is so rarely doing the wrong thing. And he sees everything. Right here, he knows 100% where Jakob Poeltl is. He knows who Miles Turner is. He knows if he takes the second defender, what's going to happen to the defense. And here, watch this. So now, what does Giannis do? Giannis starts to sink. So how many defenders are really on him right now? It's one, but that defender is helpless right now. That's a helpless defender who is struggling. And what's going to happen here is when he commits, here comes the double team. And the second that double team comes, there's Jakob Poeltl. Now, if Jakob Poeltl isn't there, Jakob Poeltl is making a mistake. He's making Scottie's life hard. But all you need to do, and these are, by the way, when Yak was wearing the mask, these are the passes Yak was dropping left, right, and center. But not anymore, man. That's an and one, by the way, just so we are clear. Ryan Rollins absolutely fouled him there. So that should have been 3 points. And that's how you impact. Now here, watch Scottie. Now, this was a terrible possession. This is the worst possession of the game that actually resulted in a score. And it should not have resulted in a score at all. Emmanuel quickly tries to beat Ryan Rollins off the dribble twice, fails both times, gets cut off. Okay. And Ryan Rollins is no elite defender, but quickly has made up his mind on this possession that he has to score. This is going to be his possession. So you're going to watch quickly here. And he just comes up, and now RJ Barrett is going to try the same thing. He's going to be like, okay, I can be AJ Green off the dribble. You don't realize AJ Green's a pretty decent defender here, man. So here, AJ Green is going to cut him off. Now watch Scottie Barnes. Okay. He's going to cut through the paint, offer RJ an outlet, realizes RJ doesn't want to make this pass. And so he's going to come up here. Now look at the atrocious spacing because Emmanuel quickly has refused to move. Now, you can't see Emmanuel quickly here, but he is literally standing right next to Scottie. He's like right there, like right where I'm pointing. That's where Emmanuel quickly is. I apologize. I kind of clipped him out of this clip, but he's standing right there. It's atrocious. Ingram should probably go to the corner. Actually, no, Ingram should not go to the corner. This is, it's just fucked. Like, you should never have 3 players lined up this close. And Ingram going to the corner doesn't do very much because Ryan Rollins is right there. Like he's able to gap this, and quickly he's just out of position. Scottie's in the wrong position. Everything is wrong with this play. But here Scottie is going to make it right. By beating Giannis off the dribble and getting Turner to commit. And I've always said Miles Turner is an absolutely overrated defender. This is why he's an overrated defender. He's thinking help here. And Scottie's just able to make something out of nothing here. Just something out of nothing. This play should never have worked. Nothing about this possession was right. And it's largely because of Emmanuel Quickley, unfortunately, right? I'm trying to be a lot more kind to Emmanuel Quickley right now because I understand he's going through a tough time. But this possession was nuts, man. Now here, set a screen. Set the double, split it. And here Scottie's just going to look for the basketball. Looks for the basketball. Do a little dribble handoff. You can hear calling for that. Giannis miscommunicates this. Quickly finally makes the right pass. And once again, Turner is going to overcommit. And here goes Sandro Mamukelashvili for the basket. It's just over and over and over again, right? It's the right play all the time. Here. Now, this is Scottie just awareness away from the play. Okay, this is one of the more interesting plays. They're just no one is ever going to really break this down, but watch how Scottie reacts. Like he knows, okay, so RJ Barrett is north of the break right now, okay? And here, the minute Mamu begins this pass, Scottie immediately reacts because he knows that RJ is going to try and take Giannis off the dribble here. So what does he do? Clears his guy out. Now, he's thinking, if RJ takes this jump shot, I need to be in place for an offensive rebound. But he's also thinking, I'm actually keeping my man in the paint here because the passing lane is too congested. I need to give RJ a better passing angle in case the defense collapses. I can be in the corner. And you can see right here, Kyle Kuzma is in perfect help position. But the second Scottie goes out to the corner, Kuzma has to vacate. And that is exactly what allows RJ Barrett to go one-on-one at the rim. It's just over and over. It's the right place. Now, some Scottie scoring possessions. Okay, here. Scottie is right here. He sees that Giannis kind of isn't paying attention here. Ingram draws in a lot of attention here. Scottie is pointing to the corner, letting Ingram know that's where I'm going to be. And here he just sort of floats behind the defense. And Ingram doesn't project it. And Giannis doesn't guard it. And that was the first possession of the game. Just perfect. Again, moving without the basketball, Giannis Antetokounmpo, hands down, doesn't want to guard the 50% three-point shooter. Okay, cool. We will just sink it. I promise you, the minute teams decide to guard this shot will be the day this league is in for a lot of trouble. And I echo Darko's sentiments completely because honestly, like, this is a dude who can make you pay on these types of possessions. Here we go. Boom. Perfect. Look at that. Perfect. Defense, right to offense, right? Now, again, the Raptors screw up transitions so friggin' often. Also, shout out to Mikey Mike for becoming a member. Appreciate you very, very much, man. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Support goes a very long way. Shout outs to all of our members. Got a lot of VIP members. So shout outs to all of you. You guys are making some good shit happen here. Now, again, I have often lamented that Scottie does not have like a rhythm to his game. And I think a lot of people can kind of instinctively pick up on that. There are sometimes very clunky plays. And here comes, right? Force the defense to commit. Don't project this pass. Give RJ the cleanest look that he gets all game. Once again in transition, watch this. Now, communicates to Mamu to set this screen. Fake the dribble as if he's going to drive. Here it comes. The second the defense reacts, boom, pass. Now, when Scottie's trainer Brian says, the potential is so high. This is what we're talking about here, man. The potential is so high because let's just be honest. If you can't navigate places on the court, if your handle is not solid, if your shooting is not respected, you are up against the grain against every time you go against a decent defense. Every time because they are able to play you off of places on the court. They're able to ignore you. But when you cannot ignore a player, when you cannot when the dribble is actually a weapon as opposed to a hindrance, now we end up in a completely different zone with Scottie. And that's why the potential will always be so high. Watch this. So here, jumps. Now, Taurean Prince is under the illusion that he has lost Scottie Barnes. And watching this play live, I was like, no, you haven't. Do you know how many jump shots Taurean Prince has shot in his life? Just like that. You know how many of them he's made? This is a established NBA vet. He didn't think there was a way in hell that a dude with his back turned to him could come around and recover and block a jumper. Like, do you understand? Like, first of all, how many times have you seen a player who is roughly the same size as the player he's guarding? I think Taurean Prince is about 6'6", Scottie's about 6'7.5", 6'8". How many times have you seen a guy on a standstill block a jump shooter who's known as a jump shooter on a standstill? It's not a running start, you block it from the side, you block it closing out. Like that's hey, you're not lying. That's the 7'4" wingspan, man. Here, this is the play that everyone was gassing up, right? But let's just be real. Scottie did this 150 times last year. And Bobby Portis is nothing to him right now. Now, the Bucks have some false safety right now. They think Bobby got him. What's he going to do? Right? Kuzma's thinking help here. But honestly, Scottie could do whatever the fuck he wants here. And he decides to take this little bump fade away. Good stuff, man. Here, once again, off ball, right? Fake to the corner. Get the defense to think that you're going to the corner. And as the play develops, which is Jamal Shead getting a step on Ryan Rollins and then forcing the help from AJ Green, immediately change your mind because the help is late and that's the right play. It's so easy right now for me to say this was the right decision in that moment, but to process all of that quickly, this is where the defense is coming from. This is where the defense is fucked up. Oh, I don't need to go to the corner. Oh, Jamal Shead just beat his man. Now I can give him an outlet. You just need players who see the game like him, right? And you've got so many on the court right now. Like RJ Barrett's a high IQ player. Brandon Ingram's a high IQ player. Mamu's a high IQ player. You got a lot of high IQ players on this team. And that's really what, when we talk about like building around Scottie Barnes, that's what you need. You need high compete defenders. You need high versatility offensive players. You need good shot creators, or you need good shot finishers. Transition athletes are a thing that's sort of missing on this team, if we're being honest. Here. Now, what's he going to do? You got Giannis at the rim, right? Giannis closes off the passing lane. Here, Cole Anthony is playing the pass to Sandro Mamukelashvili. That window has closed. If Cole Anthony comes over about 2 feet more, this is a pass automatic going to Sandro Mamukelashvili right in a shooting pocket. But Cole Anthony's actually doing the right thing. He's splitting the difference. So he's like, when I say splitting the difference, he's close enough to bother the pass. He's far enough to actually close out to the shooter. So Scottie's like, you know what? The best option here is for me to just go on Giannis one-on-one. They think he's a good defender. I don't think he can guard me on this shot. And boom. Yo, if you a fan of old school hoops, there we go. You want Scottie to get his butt in the post? Just got his butt in the post and gave Giannis the business. Okay. Now here, watch Scottie in the corner, right? Once again, do the extra step, bro. Look at this. The spacing of 15 feet is so important for screens to happen, for passes to be clean. This spacing, instinctively understanding, Ingram is here. I need to move a little bit further to the corner. these are really small things that most great basketball players should figure out. There's collegiate players who know this stuff. But it's so amazing how many times you watch an NBA game and they don't know this. Boom. Kaboom. Here it comes. I really like this play, largely because Scottie is so far behind the offense here. And Shed doesn't really have anything because Cole Anthony's here, Taurean Prince is here. And so kind of seeing that, hey, the defense is sort of lingering and I have an opportunity here. If I just speed up a little bit, Taurean Prince can't guard me. Again, the smallest thing, sometimes guys make up their mind. This is going to be a dunk for me. But you don't process like who is the low man here. Taurean Prince is not a great rim protector. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Miles Turner are pretty good rim protectors. So if the rim protector is Giannis Antetokounmpo or Miles Turner, maybe this is a pull-up three. But because it's Taurean Prince with his back turned to me and in not great position to draw a charge, I'm just going to take one step, protect the basketball, and finish through contact. I will guarantee you with no doubt in my mind, if that's Giannis, he makes a different decision and you get a different result. This slowing down of the game has always been slow for someone like Scottie. So all of this to say, how far do I actually think this guy is from achieving the potential of being all NBA? Honestly, I think he's all NBA this year. I felt this way coming into the season and I stick with it. I think he's all NBA. I think the numbers will reflect that. I think the win total will reflect that. I think the Raptors will clip 40, 42, 43, 44 wins easily. They should because their schedule gets easier. I think this team is turning a corner. Darko mentioned yesterday that this team didn't practice for 10 straight days because of the Blue Jays. And, we can see it. We can see it, right? The fans were totally distracted. The players were at the games. And obviously, if you're at the game, you're doing one thing. Maybe you're not doing something else. Maybe this team was super invested in the Blue Jays and they were staying up until 3 a.m. like the rest of us. Who knows, man? What I do know is that this team has felt very different over the last week. Their defense has gotten a lot tighter. Their offense is getting a lot crisper. There's no bad body language on the court at all. There's no guys throwing up their hands. There's nothing. There's a lot of encouragement in the huddles. I think this team has turned a corner. And to say that the worst is over might be presumptuous and maybe wrong. However, it is worth saying that you weathered some very, very, very bad basketball. You weathered it pretty much a 7-game absence of your starting center, your lone 7-footer on the roster. You did all of this and you ended up 4-4 at all. Like after all of that, to be 4-4 is a miracle. If you had told me that the Raptors would be a bottom 10 defense and I knew nothing else, right? Given my expectations for this defense and how good I thought this defense was going to be coming to the season, I thought they were going to be top 15 defense. So if you told me they're going to be a bottom 10 defense, they're going to spend most of the season as the 28th, 27th, 26th defense, I would have told you, and that Jakob Poeltl was going to play this terribly, and that Emmanuel quickly was going to play this terribly, I would have guessed that you'd be 1-7 or 2-6 right now. The fact that you're learning to win games, the fact that you're having this positive growth and chemistry, the fact that these guys were already all super connected this offseason, and there's been so much mention of all of that. I think that this is just the start of something very beautiful. Obviously, some tests are coming up, right? You're going to have to face the Atlanta Hawks. You're going to have to face them on the road, I believe, again. Is that an NBA Cup game? It is an NBA Cup game, November 7th. That is another NBA Cup game. Beat that team, and now you have beat the two best teams theoretically in your division, and very good chance that you will actually make the NBA Cup for the first time in Raptors history. That's pretty exciting. This is a team that is young. Obviously, there is some financial incentive to make the NBA Cup. For those people who don't know, there is an $18 million pool, which is split apart between all 8 teams that make the NBA Cup. For teams that lose in the quarterfinals, every team gets around $53,000, $54,000 per player. Again, chump change for Scottie, BI, RJ, Manuel Quickly, guys who make a ton of money. But $50,000 is not chump change for Jamal Shed, Jamison Battle. So we'll see. We'll see how connected this team really is by how seriously they take those games. but I think they can win in a single game elimination. I really trust Scottie, BI, and I trust this coaching staff to make the right adjustments. And so maybe you end up losing in the quarterfinals, or maybe you end up losing in the finals. Either way, this is a taste of what is actually high leverage, high compete basketball. And I've always hated the fact that the Raptors did not make the NBA Cup. And quite frankly, in the 2 years under Darko, have not taken those games very seriously at all. Like there was, if you remember the first year the NBA Cup came around, Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes seemed genuinely confused about point differential and whether or not any of this mattered at all. Right? They didn't know the rules. They didn't understand that point differential meant this or which team made it. And I was like, well, if they don't know, that means the coaching staff isn't talking about it. And I was very upset about that because however you feel about the NBA Cup, it's still an opportunity to play high leverage competitive basketball in November. And that should not be taken for granted. And it seems to me, at least this year, this team is taking that very seriously. With the way Scottie came out in, the Cleveland game, which was the first game of the NBA Cup for the Raptors, with the way Jameson battle balled out, with the fact that, hey, Darko was like, yo, NBA Cup on the line, Manuel quickly, take a seat on the bench. We're not fucking around in this game. I really appreciated that the coaching staff is taking it seriously. This team is taking themselves seriously. And I hope throughout this year that this is a team that we can all be very, very proud of. Obviously, the heartbreak of the Blue Jays is a little bit, I would say, bittersweet, isn't it? Now, I don't want to talk too much about the Blue Jays, and I certainly don't want to talk about baseball in any advanced way, partially because I can't. I'm a baseball casual. But I will tell you something that came out of a conversation that I had with a friend of mine who is a major Blue Jays fan. And he said that this was, apart from the 2019 Raptors, the best team in Toronto sports in 25 years. And it didn't matter that they lost necessarily. It was how many people they won over. Sometimes there is victory and loss, and sometimes there's loss and even loss and victory. And I think that what the Blue Jays did was showed you what a team is supposed to be. I think, if you look at Hoffman after the game, there was much mention of him saying, like, I just cost those guys all the rings, and Vladdy Guerrero just comes and hugs him. Then, there's the guy whose name I'm forgetting right now saying, like, I would take a bullet for that guy. This is what a team is supposed to be. This is exactly what a team is supposed to be, right? You have a rookie, who showed out, the future is bright, all that stuff, right? Nobody is kind of just like pointing fingers. Everybody was together. That's really what, when that's what creates winning. And I see a similar thing happening with the Toronto Raptors this year. Now, again, the Blue Jays started out very mediocre to start the season, but by the end of it, they were one inning away, one at bat, one home run, one hit, one run away from winning a World Series for the first time in, at least since I've been in Toronto, because I wasn't here the first time they were there. And I think the Raptors probably gravitated towards this team because this team has a lot in common with them. I think they're a bunch of guys who are together. It's a young team. There's a lot of, there's a superstar who's not 30, right? There's an aging veteran for sure. I think their starting pitcher in game 7 was 41 years old. So, shout outs to Garrett Temple. But yeah, like I think there's some parallels. Obviously, that is a better team. The Raptors have moves to make, probably going to need some adjustments, might need to find a backup center that can, maybe competitively bang with, some of those big offensive rebounders. You certainly don't want to be in a situation. Naveen saying, yo, Rob, I want to make a point. What is your point? Make your point, man. David C saying, have you already talked about this Ja Morant to Toronto trade rumor? What trade rumor? There's a trade rumor. Okay, honestly, man, every single time a megastar, can't you feel the 25, 26 Raptors genuinely love each other and love playing together? That can actually take us a long way. I don't understand the question, but yes, I do. As corny as it sounds, I do think loving your teammates can take you a long way. Yeah, I do, because you're gonna hit adversity at some point, right? One of your teammates is gonna struggle. You're gonna have an injury. You're gonna have turmoil. You're gonna have a 3-game losing streak. The Raptors have already had a 4-game losing streak. And in those moments is when you figure out, like, who those people really are. Emmanuel quickly shot like death for like the first 6 games of the season. Like, he and his team did not turn on him. They did not stop passing him the ball. They did not just like start pointing fingers at him. Nobody took jabs at him in the media. His coach confidently, amazingly, went to the media and actually called out the media for calling out Emmanuel quickly. That shit goes a really long way. If this was a Nick Nurse, Fred VanVleet, type of led team, the team falls apart right there. One guy struggles. Fred VanVleet comes out and says, "Well, we're playing a lot of funky lineups, and maybe some guys shouldn't be playing." Emmanuel quickly hears that. His cousin texts him that. Now Emmanuel quickly feels like he's being ostracized. The coach comes out and says, "Well, if he fits us, if he can shoot like that, he fits us. If he doesn't shoot like that, he doesn't fit us." Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, these moments where someone struggles is a litmus test, right? And I think the Raptors kind of came through a moment of adversity there. Avery St. Pen, are you on the panel again this week? Yes, I am on the panel tomorrow, and I'm also on playback tomorrow. We are covering a playback game tomorrow. I don't know what game it is, but I think it's 7:30. So whatever game is on 7:30, I think it might be the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks versus somebody. So yes, I will be on 6 hours of streaming tomorrow. Okay, all that to say, I have a lot of hope for the Toronto Raptors this season, and I can't wait for Friday's game. That's going to be really fun, and definitely have to do a Jamal Shad video breakdown at some point to just figure out how he has taken the step that he has taken, because he has looked amazing this year. Small update for this community. I had said that the membership bonus and everything was going to get me over the hump to make my mortgage this year. So I have been wanting to pay off my mortgage for like 4 years now. Like, I've just been wanting to get this off my back. I don't know. Shout outs to everyone who has a mortgage. It sucks. And when the interest rates went up like a couple of years ago, I was like, with everything that's happening with Trump, with everything that's happening with the tariffs, with everything that's happening with the Toronto property markets and, declining property prices and all this stuff, I just don't want to have this mega debt hanging over my head. And, everyone who's ever bought a home, everyone who's ever bought, a condo at any point in their life, I think some people, like, when they meet me, they're surprised to know that I bought my condo when I was so young. But this is a debt that is hung over my head. It's just like, people who have law school debts or whatever. It's just something that has to come out of your bank account every single month. And it just kind of keeps you trapped. And it's not bad debt. It's obviously not credit card debt or whatever, but it is debt. And I was thinking, this year I'm going to be able to pay it off. And then, you know, um, I thought the membership bonus was going to get me over. But unfortunately, I did not have the greatest month over the last couple of months. Stock portfolio did not do super well. Very heavily invested in Facebook, which just took a nosedive. So I may actually not be able to make my mega goal this year, which was to pay off my mortgage clean and to start January 1st and to start just being free financially, free of the mortgage, free of that debt, free of the banks, and free of those notices and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, so, and I spent like the first 3 hours of today just wallowing in self pity. Like, oh my God, I set this big goal for myself. I told everyone I was going to do it. And now I'm realizing that if I were to do it, I would pretty much be bankrupting myself and I'd have like almost no money left for January, February, March until I made the money back. And I don't have any parents. So that's freaky for me because I think some people, they have that nest egg or safety egg of their parents or, and they can just be like, well, if I, face an emergency, I can pay, I can ask my dad for $10,000 or whatever. And I really don't have that. So yeah. So then, I vented about it to my girlfriend and I was just telling her like, yo, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it this year. And she's like, okay, what's the solutions? And one solution we kind of came up with was to take an open term mortgage, pay off like 66% of what I wanted to pay off, and then maybe pay off the rest of it when I feel more comfortable next year, maybe mid-year, or take a closed term mortgage and, go the entire year and try this whole thing. And then I thought about it and I took a nap in the afternoon, again, feeling sorry for myself. There's really no reason to feel sorry for myself. This is a huge goal that I had. And it's crazy that I even wanted to do this in 1 year, but I really wanted to do it. And then I thought to myself, you know what I could do instead? What if I just grinded as hard as humanly possible for the next 55 days and tried to make up the gap in what I think I need and what I've actually got? So that's what I'm going to do. I am actually just going to work as hard as humanly possible for the next 55 days. I think November has 31 days. Hold on. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. No, November has 30 days. So what I will do is work as hard as humanly possible for the next 54 days. I will make as much awesome content as humanly possible. I will do lives every single day. And let's see. Let's see. I'm not that far off. I'm not like crazy off. So I don't know. And I want to give a shout out to Brian, actually. I want to give a shout out to Brian Macon because I actually didn't really understand the concept of finishing a year strong until I actually heard Brian talking about it like 3-4 years ago. And I remember like Brian talking about like, right around December when a lot of people are starting to wind down and reflect on the year. That's when you start going. Like that's when you really, really like hit acceleration. So it's like if you've been going 80% all year, I think a lot of people take that December to be like ruminating on the year, reflecting on the year, feeling sorry for themselves on what they didn't do and blah, 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 blah. And Brian's like, finish strong, right? And that's what I just thought about today. And that was like a really inspiring thought that I had at like 7 o'clock. And I was just like, okay, yeah, you're a little bit short. Yeah, stupid Facebook crashed a little bit. Yeah, the mortgage that you thought you had to pay, you miscalculated it by a good, $4,000. Whoops, my bad. Totally fucked that up. And yeah, all that stuff aside, I'm very blessed to do what I do, but I'm going to push as hard as I can for the next 55 days. I'm going to start working on content, videos, everything, anything I can do to grow this channel as fast as possible over the next 55 days. I'm going to do it. All right. So that's, I don't know. Was that too much sharing for 5 minutes? I just wanted to let y'all know where I'm at. And shout outs to everybody who has become a member. The membership thing is very great because initially when I launched it, I had no idea what I was doing. And also on Sunday, there is a members draw. So shout outs to all of our members. There will be a members draw, and I already got it. So yeah, so we will be having a draw for an NBA 2K, like a copy of NBA 2K. So the first name out will be for so we'll do a draw, like we'll put every name in a hat or whatever, and we'll do a draw. So 2 of the prizes will be custom made wood carved posters, handcrafted wood carved posters. Uh, it's one of a Raptors logo, one of a Pinsar basketball logo, and one of either Grady Dick or RJ Barrett. It's like super cool. It's like nice that shout outs to Jonathan for making them. He gifted them to me at Penn Dance last year and said, give them out to the people who show up for basketball state. And I never did. So that's like a cool thing. And the first prize will be a copy of NBA 2K. You just, if you win, if you're one of the winners, you let me know whether you need an Xbox copy or a PS5 copy, and we'll ship that out to you. So that's going to be really dope. AG saying invest in Solana and Ethereum. They will both hit all-time high by Q1 2026. So I'll share a funny story with you, AG. So it was 2015. I apologize. It was 2016, and I attended New Year's at my girlfriend's house at the time, ex-girlfriend, not current girlfriend. And you're gonna be very shocked when I share this story. I don't know if I've shared this story on this live. Some people might have heard this before. And there was a guy who was at that party, who is my ex-girlfriend's cousin. And he was the first person that I'd ever heard talk about Ethereum. And he said, you should invest in Ethereum. So we were playing chess and I wasn't really paying attention. And I wanted to know a little bit more, but I didn't approach it with a lot of intellectual curiosity, unfortunately, because I thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't really trust crypto. But yeah, he said, it's great. This is the theory of blockchain. This is why, this is the utility. This is why it's going to go, et cetera, et cetera. And he seemed very confident. And his dad co-signed that. And would you like to take a guess in terms of who told me to buy Ethereum in 2016? Would you like to take a guess in terms of who fucking told me to buy Ethereum in 2016? I will wait if you would like to guess the person who told me to buy Ethereum in 2016. The person who is my yeah, the founder of fucking Ethereum was standing in front of me telling me to buy Ethereum, and I didn't listen to him. So fucking idiot, bro. I think about that shit at least once every month as a fucking moron. Like, what was I thinking? And honestly, like, his dad is great. Like, they're great. They're a great family. They were amazing. Super hospitable. We were together for almost 3.5 years at that. That was the start of our relationship. But yeah, it was nuts, man. Like, that's like fucking that's like Michael Jordan telling you to buy Jordan brand stock. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fucking so stupid. So, anyways, that being said, Vitalik's really cool dude. His dad, shout outs to Dimitri. He's a very cool dude as well. Um, yeah, uh, uh, yeah. Trust me, it's going on my tombstone, bro. Yeah, like it's such a stupid moment. Like, I mean, again, at that time, I was trying to get away from investing. Just to be clear, like, so I was a heavy investor from 2004 till about 2012, 13. And when I was president of the fraternity, I think like a lot of people, I started to get more into art because I was around a lot of artsy people, and I wanted to get away from money. This is the stupidest thing to say, but I wanted to get away from money. I felt like I was pretty settled at that point. I'd already bought my place. I was paying it off slowly. I was very thrifty. I didn't have very expensive appetites. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I want to do something else with my life. And sometimes like when you're around people that don't really value money, but they actually value creativity, artistry, honesty, you start to become more like the people like that you're around. And I'm very happy for that because that's why I became a filmmaker, I think. And that's why I wanted to shun this idea of like stocks. So yeah, I have a portfolio, but I don't look at it. I don't manage it very actively. I'm not researching stocks and cryptocurrencies and shit every day. But yeah, right now my goal is really to just pay off my mortgage. And it's a funny and really stupid goal because mortgages are not like bad debt, in the terms of bad debt being like, 30%, 15%, 13% interest rates, high, high interest rate credit cards, payday loans, the worst types of debt, right? Those loan sharks, these are the worst types of debt. Mortgages are like debt that everyone just accepts, right? But I remember it's it's an insidious debt, right? Sorry, you know. Um, I remember a person that I remember bought a home for like 1.5 million, so like 1.5 million, and they sold it for like 1.7, like 10 years later. Now, I understand you need a place to live, whatever, right? But they thought that they pocketed $200,000 on that exchange. But then you do the calculation on the cost of borrowing because they only paid like $200,000 down. So they basically borrowed like close to $1.3 million for 10 years. You understand? Like by the end of it, they had very little equity because they took a 25-year term. And as much money as they thought they'd made, the $200,000 between the land transfer tax, between the lawyer fees, between the renovations that they had to do, the repairs that they had to do, they almost absolutely lost money on they lost money on that house over 10 years. So property is not for everybody. Obviously, I don't really have like any great goals to buy more property. I'm more like let me just get back into investing and let me not let it take over my whole life. But right now, more so than anything, I just kind of want to invest in this channel. Like I want to get better sound, better lighting, fix my skin, all that stuff. So yeah. Yo, Rob, have you ever met Matt Devlin? Yes, I have. AG saying land transfer tax is a joke. That's why my investment properties are in the prairies. Dope. That is dope. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I was telling friends to buy property in Florida in like 2008. Why didn't I take my own advice? Like I could have, but I just I don't know, man. There's like subconscious things that hold us back. Like there's so many things that I knew were the right idea and I advised people to do it, but I didn't do it myself. So something that I have to think about. Anyways, so point being, um, shout outs to this community for, getting me super close to this goal. And now that y'all have gotten me close to this goal, and again, like I mentioned, like the memberships, like y'all realize we got like almost 170 members. That's amazing. That's 170 members that pay into this channel. That's dope. Like that's people supporting it, whether it's $3, $6, $20, $30, whatever it is. That's like a monthly membership that is coming in. And I think I allowed y'all to do the first part of the job. And now I need to do the second part of the job, which is okay, y'all got me this close. Let me get myself over that next line. So that's what I'm going to do. Over the next 55 days, get ready for some content. We're going to do this. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one. And shout outs to Shane Bieber for signing with the Blue Jays. That's awesome. Talk to y'all later. Bye bye. And Tariq saying, drop a like, y'all. Absolutely. I will timestamp the not important part of this live, which is like the last 15 minutes. But shout outs to 172 of you. I would bet very, very much that at least of the 172 people watching at 1:29 a.m., about 30 of you are already asleep. So to you, I say good night. Bye-bye.